pod order. BTT Plus. Yeah, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Plus. Oh, it's extra content right here, chicos. Think about it. BTT Plus, taking over the pod game. Live Q&As, watch-alongs, new shows. BT. Is that okay, Plus. Big Tommy? Enter the war room, turnbuckle style. Plus, it's the new way. We call it BTT Plus. The genesis has begun. The beginning of the new pod or BTT. Everybody wants to know what to do next. Well, just scan the code. The pod revolution Plus starts now.
The preceding announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus. New pod order.
They kept saying his name. They kept saying Bron. Bron. But you know what I think about little pups? They look even smaller when they show up at the big dog's yard.
What's good, everybody? Welcome into our newest BTT conversation. And as many of you know, as our brand grows and we do so many different shows, the one thing that I've wanted is to really bring in wrestling fans, wrestling celebrity fans that truly know the business and love the business. And in this week's episode, I'm telling you right now, I am a gigantic fan of this man, and there he is right there. You've seen him on Chicago PD, Arrow, Sirens, you name it, Avid Elementary. The man is everywhere, but he's here with us today. Josh Segarra, welcome to BTT, sir.
Oh, man, I'm hyped to be here, Coach. I'm hyped to be here.
Now, for people who don't know, and this is going to be, I've been so looking forward to this conversation because when I was in the WWE for 13 or 14 years, the one thing we hated the most was when a celebrity would come to the Staples Center. I watch wrestling all the time. And then all of our stars would walk by and they wouldn't know them at all.
Come on.
But you're legit. How long and where does your fandom start in the world of wrestling?
Well, let me add on to that. One of the things that pissed me off the most, too, is, and it's been happening forever where guests will come on to a wrestling show, and the ones that would get me the most upset would if they were coming into our worlds and not buying in. Like that's the number one rule as a guest. When you're coming on to any television show, you're buying into what the world is. So it was always important to me, and the ones that stick out as the best guests are always those that buy into the world wholeheartedly. And so that's always been the barometer. Like I'm watching your eyes and I'm going, how much are you buying into what's going on out here?
Yes.
So it starts, man. My fandom has been my whole life. I can tell you, one of the first memories that I have in my brain is Muda spitting the green mist. I feel like I was 2 years old in Puerto Rico. I've gone back and had to fill in some holes, but just sitting on a patio with my uncles. And I believe it was a Wrestle War I figured out at one point. But, man, one of the earliest memories I have, and I believe it was in Sting's face. And, man, it went from there, bro. I had WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 6 on VHSs, those blank tape VHSs that
yeah.
Man, I those were played over and over again. And I've grown up with it, man. It's been part of my life. If I gave you a tour of this room that I was in, I've got all my old Hasbro action figures right there.
Oh, my.
I've got a couple replica titles. I've got some stuff over there, but and then now it's a way to relax at the end of the night. Now it's something nostalgic for me. It's something fun to participate with my kids. And I got 3 little boys. I got an 8-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
Wow,
they're into it, man. A lot of wrestling on the beanbag, and so off we go, man. Off we go.
Man, it's so awesome because at my core, I never dreamed about being in WWE. I got in my early 20s by happenstance, and then it becomes who I am. And the hardest thing is when I tried to go to ESPN, they're like, well, you're the wrestling guy. You're an actor that has been on so many different genres, so many different kinds of shows. It's weird, but I feel like all the shows I love, you've been in, like all of them. So for a wrestler, they've got to be able to adapt. As an actor, how do you think that plays into the world of wrestling and being able to evolve and adapt and really make that character development believable?
Man, It's all about like this is why I'm happy to be here today because I could talk about this stuff with you, Coach.
Absolutely.
And, right? Like all an actor's trying to do is, in essence, the exact same thing that any wrestler's trying to do, which is to be as believable as possible, right? So, and the audience can feel the disconnect. You can feel the disconnect when it's inside of a character, and that is jarring. If you ask somebody, when they're watching something, anything, if they're consuming any piece of content, did you like that? And they say no. 99% of the time, it's just going to be because probably they felt it was false or like they were disconnected from what they were trying to take in. So, man, like that's the screen in which I'm watching wrestling now in my life is I watch them as my peers, like I'm watching them as fellow artists in essence, like being like, oh, okay, let's see how Seth is going to handle this transition now with Paul. Oh, look at what Paul does to Seth. Seth's already up here, right? Seth's already at the top of the game. He's held the company on his shoulders many times. So now you've got these guys that are all playing at the top of the card. So it's just fun to see how Paul affects each one individually. The nuance of how the character is adapting. Same thing. It's man. It's we were rapping about it before, bro. It's what I love, man. It's how I started acting, was imitating wrestlers. And what are wrestlers doing? They're feeling the crowd. They're improvising on the spot. Even if it's scripted, you're still trying to have a give and take with the live audience and with the camera, with the hard camera right here, with the audience at home. So I love watching the guys maneuver that, man. I love watching it all, then figure it out.
And the thing is that you have such a unique view, and I also am enthralled. Literally, this interview could go for 5 hours because it's rare is the time that I get to talk to somebody who understands all of it. And the one thing I'm struggling with right now, and is the fact that with Netflix involved, you have a brand new show coming out on Netflix, Sirens, different than your other ones, but we'll get into that. But they're really taking it to an entertainment world, meaning when I worked for Vince McMahon, it was the suspending the reality. If there's a rivalry, do they really hate each other in real life or do they not really hate each other in real life? And there was that not really knowing. And now with Netflix involved, obviously big $5 billion deal, they're telling us when these guys are on, they're actors, just like when you're in a show. And when they're off, they're not. And for me, being an old school guy, I have a real issue with that because I don't want you to tell me that it's choreographed or fake. I want to enjoy it how I want to enjoy it. How do you feel about that?
Buddy, man, I was actually going to ask you how you felt about it because I know that they're dropping this new unscripted show, right?
Unreal,
right? Yep. So, I mean, but I'll tell you, I'll be seated right when it drops, because that's the stuff. And I watch everything that has to do with wrestling. I'm gonna consume, like all the A&E stuff, all the Vice stuff.
Me too.
Like I'm a sucker for that. I could watch the Monday Night War story be told 48 different ways, with 48 different perspectives, and I'm gonna eat it up every time. So I will say, as an old school wrestling fan too, I am intrigued. I don't even know how I feel about it. I'm intrigued to see how they present this next, how they present Unreal. But I will say, then doesn't it give you the feels when you've got somebody like Dom out there and Ray who they'll never take a picture right here? Or like, if you ever ask Dom how he feels about his dad, it's always with a wink, I'm sure, but it's always like, man, F that guy. Like he was a deadbeat. Yes. There's something about that where you're like, oh, that's cool. Like seeing when you kind of get a glimpse of that old school mentality, it's fun, man. It's fun. Because it is different. It is different now with the press conferences. But like we were talking about earlier, I'm loving watching Cena going to the press conference where he's still playing this heel character, right? Like he's keeping it here. Where then you've got Rocky who comes in and is out of character.
Right. But then you have Cena on Saturday night at Backlash, who then puts R-Truth through a table. So I'm saying if I'm a fan and I don't know, I'm like, is this part of it? Is this supposed to be where they step out of the character and tell us what just happened? And that's, I think, where I have the disconnect. But it's different, and I like you use the word intrigued. And I think that's where I wish fans could be. Am I intrigued by this, and where will it take me? I wish a lot of fans could watch it the way that you're describing.
Ah, man. Well, me too, bro. Like, to me, this is, well, we're all the things we always hear, that it's a never end. It never ends, right? There's after WrestleMania, there's a Monday Night Raw the next night. So not even a 2-day break. It's just a 1-day break of 12 hours, you know?
Josh, you know who I used to feel the worst about? So we would have a party after WrestleMania at the hotel. So if you're in the main event, you're not getting back to the hotel till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Everybody else has been drinking, eating, having a good time. You walk in, and you're part of the reason, because they always say thank you for the house. The main eventers used to make, I don't know if you know this, $1 million bonus if they were in the main event at WrestleMania. That's how much competition there was for that spot. So when I hear people say, oh, it's fake or there's no competition, I'm like, really? So, Josh, if you were battling another actor for a spot and there was $1 million bonus at stake, wouldn't you call that competition?
Oof, 100%, man. 100%.
Right?
It's what they say about the title, right? Where, yes, the title is part of this story, but if you are holding a title, that means that the company also trusts you with that title in real life. There are two things always at play in this world, you know. That's always been.
And that's why when people, I do a ton of interviews and shows, and I absolutely love it. And I feel like my role in the wrestling world has evolved and changed. I never thought I would come back to it. But this right here, like what you and I are doing, is why I came back to it, because people told me it was, almost 15 years of my life in the WWE. They're like, very few people get 5 years, let alone over 10 years. They're like, you have so much knowledge. But I also love the fact that now in this day and age, when guys like you and I can look at it, and I think we can actually help Triple H and the writing staff, because they need real smart people who understand the business as they're navigating this thing. Because now think about it. Before, you never had a network that could go internationally. So now Netflix is in 85% of the world. From an acting perspective, when you're looking at shows and where to put them, how much does that streaming, because they never were part of it before, but now there's a lot of big-time shows, big-time money, big-time productions on a Netflix or an Amazon Prime. How much has that changed in your world, in your mind? Because certainly it's changed the wrestling world.
I mean, you know, it's the lucky thing for me is that it comes much lower down on the totem pole as part of my decision-making process, but it is still on the totem pole. It's still one of those, when I'm reading a script, the first thing I'm really looking for is if I react to the script. You know, like if it's a comedy and it makes me laugh a couple times, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be into it. If it's it's more of a dramatic story, just got to make me feel something. But then what you're really looking at when it gets to where it's gonna stream is stylistically what it's going to look like, you know, like, but see, even that's changed. Like, you know, man, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, now I think that good content will find its way through no matter what, you know, like, and if you find a place that you can get your art in front of people, it will find its way through. Now, it sure helps, you know, like how did the numbers change when Netflix started airing Raw? You know, like when you already have that built-in audience of 800 million sets of eyeballs, that's a whole different, right? You know, but on my end, man, you know, like it really just has to do with what you describe the project as after you fall in love with it. You know, oh, I've got this show that I'm doing. It's about a small town. And people are reading these blue cards and they try to change their life. It's the show called The Big Door Prize, which is a real show I did. And it's on Apple Plus. It's always that thing at the end where you're like,
yeah,
It's like, and it's on Apple Plus, and then usually I'd get like, oh, I don't have Apple Plus. I'd be like, no, man, it's on split no stress, you know. It was always like my mom's friends, like, I belong, I don't have Apple Plus. I'm like, I know, it's okay, don't worry about it, ma. Like, I'll get you Apple Plus, ma. Like, so it helped with Netflix, where you could just be like, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, it's right
It's
there.
on Netflix.
Yeah,
As opposed
there
to,
we go.
now, then you're looking at all the streamers, you're looking at, where things can land. It got real. I will say this, man, seeing how everything got real wide then for a second, but I feel like now the business, it is consolidating again, and you're starting to find certain places that are now going to start, I think, pushing out, more specific. Like, it's funny, like, to me, like, I turn to Vice now for things that I want to be informed about, like that full side. I go to them for the dark side of the 90s. I go to them for the dark side of comedy. All the dark sides I'm hooked for. So I feel like it's just interesting. You try to find something that you can kind of make your niche, make your thing, and then we'll go from there, So, yeah.
It's a great answer, and it's all about getting the audience to understand what you're going to get from that, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes several months, if not years, to get people to say, okay, when I go to Vice, I'm going to get that. Imagine, Josh, think about this scenario. So the Dark Side of the Ring did an entire episode on the WWE Flight from Hell. I don't know if you saw that particular episode. Okay, so they interviewed, and I don't want to disparage them because they do good work, but when you're actually on the plane, when you're actually in the middle of all the stuff they're talking about for an hour, you're watching your life back in real time. I was the one that took the elbow from Brock Lesnar when he threw the punch to Mr. Perfect to start the entire fight, which is what the whole Flight from Hell was based on. And so when I hear people talk about what happened, I'm like, no, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. It is so weird watching your life back. And I kid you not, we thought we were all going to die at 37,000 feet. Because when Brock Lesnar and Mr. Perfect are fighting in the aisle of a 767 and they launch against the door, what would your reaction be to that?
Ooh, I'm going to die. Yeah, my skin is just going down. Yeah,
exactly. The whole plane shakes. And then you got Undertaker jumping on one guy. You got JBL jumping on another guy. And then there's 1,000 other stories that happen in those 8 hours. And when I watch it back, I don't even know how I feel when I watch it. It's just, I can't believe I was a part of that. Does that make sense?
Of course. So, all right. So let me ask you this. Are you watching every episode of it, or are you going to the ones that you're a part of?
I don't intentionally, because a lot of those are they're good productions, but they're negative stories. And with me having spent so much time, you have buddies that have passed away or whatever, and I don't like to watch the stories that take me to a bad place. So that's kind of why I don't watch a lot of those. That was the one, because I knew it was such a big story, and it happened in 2002. So sometimes the story changes over time. The only thing I wish they would have called me to be in it, because I was literally in the middle of it. Like, I was an eyewitness to it. And a lot of people they had were sitting at the front of the plane, and they didn't see a lot of it. So that's all. But yeah, that's a great question, because I don't.
I mean, and you made me think about this just now. We're talking about networks earlier, and you made me flip to the other side of it. What is interesting is Netflix wanting wrestling on the platform. It's like, because I wonder if it has to do with that thing that maybe we're too close to it, but I feel like wrestling is back in the zeitgeist. Like, I've got people that don't watch wrestling when I'm walking around in a Bloodline shirt going, hey, I know that Roman Reigns guy. And I'm like, yeah, dude. They're like, yeah, man, I've seen that guy everywhere. You're starting, it's busted into pop culture again in a way, and I think it had to do with a lot of reasons, man. In 20 years, hopefully somebody will write a really smart version of this paper. But, man, during the pandemic, what about all that vintage stuff going back for sale? Wrestling T-shirts and everything that was vintage and collectible had an uptick, and people found wrestling, man. And now I've got buddies talking to me about wrestling that never watched wrestling because it's on Netflix and it's on there on a Monday night at 9 p.m. You're going, oh, man, I haven't watched this since, 1999. Let me see what's going on. And all of a sudden you're watching the guys do their thing, you're back in, you know?
You just hit the nail on the head, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, because when I left WWE to go to ESPN, it was really difficult for me to get a mainstream sports job because I'd been in that fake world for so long. Then I kind of busted down the door, and now you see Pat McAfee, you see Joe Tessitore, and it's not even a big deal anymore. The reason Netflix was so smart to bring it in is to what you just said. You've got buddies that all have different interests. But when you go to Netflix and the way they lay it out, Raw's right there next to whatever the next big thing is. Your show, it's going to be right next to Raw. So now you get the ancillary fan base that comes in to watch your show. So the investment that they make is absolutely worth it, which we didn't have in 2008. If I would have said to you Netflix in 2008, you'd been like, the thing at the store that you go and you buy a DVD off of, right? So that's how it's evolved. And I think that it's such a smart investment because of the other stuff like what you guys are doing to bring it all together. And they want to get it into the mainstream. That's the other part of this. They want more people than John Cena and The Rock to be somebody that people know when you walk down the street. And that's always been something we fought.
Yeah, truth, man, truth. That's what I see too. What we were rapping about earlier as well, bringing it back, is like with Netflix now, but I feel like it's definitely been a concerted effort. You're seeing wrestling look more mainstream even, you know, with the press conferences, with, you know, the SAPs at the bottom of the screen. Even when that was added, I remember being like, oh, I like this, you know, or like certain stat lines coming up, you know, and you're like, oh, and making the big fights feel like big fight feels, you know, and we've always had that, you know. I'll forever remember, you know, Hogan and Warrior looking at each other opposite the
Right.
And now it is different. I'm watching it through my son's eyes, you know, and he's consuming a lot of other things. So it's definitely, you can see them keeping up, putting it in everybody's eyeballs, saying, hey, remember us? Why don't you come watch wrestling again? Come check it out again. You know, you're seeing this at Dillard's and Nordstrom. You're seeing the wrestling table now. You know, it used to be only Hot Topic, you know, or now you're seeing them everywhere. It's cool, man. It's cool.
So part of the reason of what you're talking about, for people who don't know watching this at home, the executive producer of the show was in charge of College Game Day at ESPN for over 25 years. And he worked a lot with Nick Khan, who's the president of WWE. So they brought him over. So they wanted the show, Josh, to look like a sports show. So having the stats and having the win percentage and all of that makes it look like a sports show, which then makes it what? It makes it mainstream. What is the thing you enjoy the most about watching now with your son, would you say?
Him believing with his whole body that everything is the truth, you know, and like I said, that's the way I still like to watch. You know, when I'm there in person, I'm booing the bad guys and I'm cheering the good guys. Where in life are you allowed to give a nice boo? You're mean, bro. You know, like, so it's fun to watch it with them through that, you know, and to you know, start the journey with him, man, you know, getting some gear and you know, tag team matches downstairs and them their favorites and yeah, man, like seeing who connects, you know, who do they talk about, man? Like my 8-year-old bro loves Ludwig Kaiser, loves him, bro.
What?
Mom,
Why? Interesting.
he walks around the house. He
Really?
like this. We played Ludwig's theme in the car. He's all about it. But he always asks me whenever somebody new comes out that he doesn't know, he'll say, Daddy, is he a good guy or a bad guy? And I always love, you know, trying to explain, all right, well, even though he's a bad guy, that's why he's getting cheered, or even though he's a good guy, but he's a good guy, he's a bad guy. And Ludwig is like, Daddy, I know Ludwig is a bad guy, but I still like it. I'm like, that's okay, bro.
That's okay.
Oh,
That's good. That's okay.
You know? So it's fun, man. It's fun.
We always used to say, and you can explain this to your son, that if you're a really, really great heel, then at some point you're going to make a really great babyface. And you're starting to see it with Dom right now. So Dom wins the Intercontinental title, and you notice the crowd cheered because the crowd, I would say 80% are really, really smart. Then you got the 20 that still live in their own delusional world. But the 80 are like, I like this character. He's doing a good job. And I know that when he's a babyface, I can lose my mind. And they're starting to do that. Ludwig is one of those guys. Logan Paul is another one of those guys. So who would you say right now, as far as characters that you buy into that make you emotional for you, who falls into that category?
Well, you brought him up, Coach. It's Dom, man. Dom is just, and I feel like I would never disrespect him by saying this to him. So, but because I would sound too corny saying it, but like, man, like we all grew up with Dom on our TVs, like we remember that whole story with Eddie. Eddie was one of my favorites, man, and like we were the same age, and when he first debuted, I can only imagine the pressure that he was under, where your dad's the GOAT, man, like your dad is it. And then we all watched Dom progress and get good on the mic.
Great on the
Good on the mic, like just so natural and easy. And then the stash shows up and the mullet shows up. And bro, I even love his gear, man. Whatever, I don't know what it's called, but dude, it's just beautiful. And then on top of that, he's out there in every interview I've heard him do. He just I love the way he's toying the line. Like
he's the best at it. He's the best at it.
Dude, he's the best at it, man. And like he's just really, really, he's just, I don't know, man. It's like watching your friend, like you're like, bro, you're doing so well, dog. You're doing, bro. And just, and of course, hearing that reaction when he gets the title, man, like just feeling, that match with Pentagon was sick, like
so good.
Always puts on great matches, always killing it on the mic. He's just got the sights are. He's gonna kill it, brother. He's got.
Do you know why? Do you know why secretly backstage he pisses everybody off?
Why?
Because the same thing happened with me, and I'm not putting myself in his category. But when you become a heel with the amount of heat that he has, when a lot of people look at you as, oh, he's not built, he's not super muscular, he's not a traditional looking WWE superstar, and when you got guys that are like that. And then when you can't even put the microphone to your mouth without the crowd shutting you down, that is glorious heat. That is something you cannot teach. And it pisses people off backstage because they wish they could get an ounce of the heat that he gets. And back when I did it, they hated because you make people feel. It's kind of like being a great actor. You make people, whatever role you're in, and when you're a heel, your entire job is to make people hate you to the point that whoever lays hands on you, they love you that much more. And that's the heel of a role of a heel and a babyface. And Dom, and I wish other young talent could do this too, Josh, where they look at what he does. And even though we know it's all choreographed, is that make me think a little bit that maybe my character is. Rock used to tell me this. He said, Coach, if you're going to be believable, it's the coach turned up 10 notches. It's not the coach here and Jonathan Coachman over here or Josh Segarra here and then whatever role you're playing on whatever show. It's the same guy. You just turn it up 10 notches. And that's what I've always remembered. And young talent doesn't do that right now, but he does. And you're absolutely right. Think about that for a second.
Of course, man. No, of course. I just wonder, like what it must be like to be in that world your whole life, that like your earliest memory are in that ring, and now you are filling those boots, let's say, like dude, a year ago, I remember that feeling of every time. I mean, dude, every show he was on, every time he went to put the mic to his mouth, the whole crowd was booing him. I remember being at the Garden and feeling that same energy. But like I said, it's such an honor to give that to them now. Where it's like you could see everybody smiling while booing Dom. You know, it's just like just fully bought in adults, kids, knowing full well that brother, we're doing this because we love you. And man, when you turn, oh, this whole place is gonna go.
You could feel that, right? You could feel they want him to. You want him to. Yeah. Yeah.
Sing boo. You know, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Let me ask you this, because you're one of the rare guys, certainly, you know, with the interviews we've done here, that you're on the same platform as them. Have you had discussions? Because I know they bring a lot of you guys on, and most of the time it's, hey, there's this celebrity, he's a bull rider, he's an actor, he's a whatever, and he's going to have this on Netflix. Do they call you? Do you say, hey, listen, I'd like to try this to promote my show? How does all that work, especially when they know you're a gigantic wrestling fan and that's their new big thing?
It usually, when it comes, it usually is something random. Like you'll be at an event promoting your show and a Netflix executive is there. And when I say random, I mean fully on purpose for someone like me, where when they lock down the wrestling deal, the first thing I'm going to say, be like, oh, you work at Netflix? I'll meet you, da-da-da. Yo, I'm a huge wrestling fan. So if they're ever in New York, you got to let me know. And then it just goes from there. And then, you know, you put some people in touch and I get to be a nice guest, you know, and then the nerves start kicking because you know they're going to cut to you with the camera. And man, it don't matter if you've done it 1 to 500 times, bro. You know you get nervous because.
So what's your go-to when they show you and you know Michael Cole saying, "There's Josh Segarra"? What's your go-to?
I'm always gonna try to do something that I feel in the moment. At this last one, I just started barking, Coach. I just started barking. It was in me. I had a Steiner Brothers shirt on, bro. I love Bron. So when they cut to me, I felt the bark coming, and we just started barking.
It just came out.
No, you know, I've tried to do it at other ones, you know, like anytime they'll cut to me on something, I definitely try to give either a wolf pack, give a little Rocky kind of chin movement, you know, maybe give a John Cena, you know, try to go old school. One time I gave a Scott Hall walkthrough, you know, like, so try to hit the fans where if you really know what I'm doing, you know what I'm doing. Now, I'll tell you one thing, Coach. I'll tell you what. So I got a show called The Big Door Prize that I love. We had 2 seasons of it. Unfortunately, we don't get to make any more. That's how it goes. But in season 2, our creator, his name is David West Reed, man. I love this guy. He comes to me and he would always ask me random wrestling questions because he knows a wrestling fan. He used to watch when he was younger. And he tells me, he's like, bro, I got an episode just for you. He's like, we're going to do a wrestling episode.
Oh, wow.
Great, man. So it was, the storyline quickly was, you know, the priest in our show, he couldn't figure out how to work up the courage to be with this girl that he loves. And I'm trying to build up his confidence. The local high school is doing a wrestling play version of this Greek play. And so a ring is all set up. The whole town is there watching. Brother, I had never had so much fun in my life preparing for an episode because it was the first time I'd ever actually gotten into a ring.
Okay.
Actually gotten to have some work sessions. You know, we did 4 or 5 2-hour sessions. Brought in some great guys, some local talent from Georgia. He's a sweet dude, and we choreographed this thing. But basically, long story short, what I'm telling you this is because David West Reed, he says to me, hey, man, you know, like, we're going to choreograph a match for you guys. It's going to be about 2 minutes. He's like, but I just want you to do your thing. He's like, so just like anything you've ever wanted to do, we'll do it. And the whole basis is going to be, we're going to do the choreography from Savage Steamboat WrestleMania 3. So if you go back and watch this episode, it is my love letter to the wrestling business. It's my opportunity. So we do this match and they cut it together for me in a way where I've got a bunch of different call outs. I've got an Eddie in there. I've got Brocky Smell It Into the Air. I've got a Ric Flair fall to the mat just on his chest, you know, that bump where he kind of tips over. man. And dude, it was just the time of my life, man. Spent a couple days shooting it.
Oh my gosh.
Up we go, man. I felt like I got to finally check something off my bucket list, which was getting a ring performance for some folks. It felt like a flight simulator of a match, the closest thing I could get to it. But it was incredible, man. Really, really fun.
Do you realize what you're doing for me? And in all honesty, this is the most fun I think I've had in years and years and years doing it. This is so much fun for me. You're literally, I mean, it truly is. I'm not just saying that. It's amazing how much you know, but your love of it. And that was the thing that when I was coming up, and it's funny you bring up Ric Flair. So Rick, just so you know, he respects everybody. So if Josh Segarra was going to have a match with Ric Flair, he would respect you to the point that he would say, hey, just call it out there. And so in wrestling, if you just call it out there, that means we know what the last 2 minutes is going to be, but the first 40 minutes, you're just going to call it out there. Well, you and I aren't good enough to do that. And one time I was wrestling him in Afghanistan, and they're like, hey, we need an extra match, coach. You're going to wrestle Ric Flair. Walked into the locker room. I said, hey, Nate. And because the other thing is in wrestling, we only go by one name. So it's either Nate or Trips or Taker, never real name. I go, hey, they need us to go about 12 minutes. He goes, all right, we'll just call it out there. And everybody else in the locker room, Josh, looked over like, what did he just say? Coach is not Shawn Michaels. We're not just calling it out there. And I was supposed to take the figure 4 as the finish. I was so scared I was going to hurt my knee because I'd never taken it before, that they started calling it the figure 2 because I only got my foot like up to a certain part of my shin. So they had to edit around the finish. They couldn't even show it because I took it so badly. But that was Nate, and he would do the same thing to you if you walked up and said, oh, yeah, 8 minutes? Josh, we'll call it out there. That's who he is, man. Have you ever been around Nate?
No, man. No, I've never had the pleasure or the honor. A buddy of mine got a cameo from him, though, sent my way for my birthday one year. So
I spent $500 on a cameo?
You know what? I don't even know if I'll tell you, I don't even know if he spent the cameo, because if it was that much, man.
Trust and believe. Trust and believe Rick got paid for it.
Bro, of course, but I got to give my boy some love. Sammy sent me a cameo, gave me a nice woo. But no, I haven't had the honor. I mean, bro, how about the figure 4? That's probably, I'm trying to think, the most painful finishing move. Like if done, like that's how you break your brother's leg, is the figure 4.
Correct. There's a much more painful one. You said you do the thing in the basement. The one that always used to hurt the most was the camel clutch.
Oh,
the Iron Sheik.
Of course, bro.
Sitting on the back, right? That is so painful. And boy, as a kid, I used to do it all the time. And then you're screaming, get off, get off, get off. And
absolutely. They were the Boston Crab sharpshooter combination. One of those two. Anything on the back, crank back, bro, is pretty killer.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot here because I feel like you and I are becoming boys here in real time.
Hell yeah.
So you did your interview. By the way, you're the first person I've ever interviewed that did preparation for us. So that is respect. So I have an incredible partner. We don't even use it. We just call him Producer Man. So I get all of these different things sent to me. And I saw you did an interview where you said, and I quote, I've got a promo ready right now. So you just brought up Bron Breakker, Scott Steiner. You probably saw recently the famous percentage interview that Scott Steiner did years ago with Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. And then Bron Breakker tried to reinvent it. So what I would like you to do right now, you've got all the Netflix executives, WWE executives watching BTT right now. And you've got to give me a 45 to 60-second promo as anybody you want that is currently on the roster, and you're going to fight against them. And I'll start the clock whenever you are ready.
Years ago, when I'd already made my name in this business, I heard about a little pup. They told big stories about this little pup. How big and ferocious this little pup was. How strong and fast this little pup was. And they kept saying his name. They kept saying Bron. But you know what I think about little pups? They look even smaller when they show up at the big dog's yard, okay? They look like little puppies. You ever seen those little ones? You ever seen them like that where they're running around and they're shaking their tail? Let me tell you something, Bron. Don't bring that little dog energy this way. Don't bring that puppy dog energy this way. Because when you show up at my yard, your pop knows who I am. They remember me. I was there. And you're going to see me soon. And when you do, just know that I too am a big dog, Bron. See you soon. See you soon.
That is so good. That is so good. How much fun was that? Wasn't
Let me tell you something, bro. This is why I'm an actor. Because as I finished it, all I wanted to say was like, Bron, I'm just kidding, bro. Like, just know that like you would beat me down so fast. Like, you would kill me so quickly that I immediately take back everything that is that. You know, like that's why you act. You act is that way they call cut. And somebody like me can beat up somebody like Stephen Amell. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why you act, you know?
100%. But you're already beating 95% of the people out there that think they can do it because your timing, your delivery, you're on point. The content, the way you went about it was perfect. And so many people rush through it. They rush through the promo and because they want to get to the meat. The very first, and I want you to think about this it's all about psychology, right? So do you know who the first person I ever was on TV with, first appearance ever on WWE television? It was The Rock.
Okay.
Very first one. And so I'm sure in the acting world that there are certain people you meet and you want to give them a little something. And you say to put them over because not everybody wants to do it. So The Rock was huge. So imagine this. So you're Josh Segarra and you're like, okay, I'm going to be interviewing The Rock tonight. And this was when Rock was doing the whole it doesn't matter stuff, right? So I'm brand new, just starting, 23 years old. And Rock comes in and goes, hey, I got an idea. Anything you want, Rock. What do you want to do? And now Brian Gerwitz, who is running his $7 production, used to be the lead writer back in the day. So he said, I want to try something different. And I remember this to this day, and whenever I can help people, I do because of this moment. And it may be like, Coach, was it really that big of a moment? And Josh, I want you to hear me. I want your reaction to this. So we were so ready to do the old, who are you? It doesn't matter. So here's what we did to shock the audience. I said, hey, Rock. And he goes, wait a second, puts his hand up like this. And he goes, who in the hell are you? It was the first time we were meeting right on TV. And I was like, and I don't say anything. I pause. And he's like, it's okay. You can tell The Rock. And I go, well, Rock, my name is Jonathan Coachman, but everybody calls me the coach. And he goes, the coach? The coach of what? The coach of a little girl softball team? The coach of this? The coach of that? But he said the coach like 7 or 8 times. So then he gets into his whole thing about facing the Big Show, that and whoever he was fighting. So then he comes back to me, he stops because his timing, I just said your timing, right? The timing is everything. So he stops as he's walking off and he turns back to me and he goes, so why do they call you the coach? Now I'm comfortable. Now I'm thinking, hey, we're boys. So I go, well, it's funny. It doesn't matter why they call you the coach. So we put it at the end instead of at the beginning. And now we walk out of the building, Allstate Arena, Chicago, Illinois. What do you think the crowd was chanting after one night when I walked out of the building? Coach. No, they're yelling my name because it's about branding. And he said my name 8 times. It didn't matter if he made fun of me, Josh. It was getting my name out there and repeating it over and over and over. And that's the psychology of a great promo. So you just said little pup, little pup, little pup. So now if you were actually in a real fight with Bron Breakker, if you got to the next arena, what do you think the crowd would be chanting at him?
Little pup. You're literally puppy.
See what I'm saying? That's how it works. That's how it works. And then when you walk out, you're like, man, they're paying attention to me. And when you get in your mind, Josh, that they're watching your stuff, because how many times do you do a show and you say you don't think anybody's watching, and then you'll walk in somewhere and man, like I did today, I was like, man, I watched you at Avid, Chicago PD, LA, like everything you've done. It's such a great feeling, isn't it?
Of course.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Salute,
Don't-
man. That's why
you're try-
if anybody ever says anything to me, man, comes up and daps me up out there, especially, man, at wrestling shows, we're all in it together, bro. So please, like it's an honor. It's been an honor to come chat with you today, bro. There's nothing cooler, man. Nothing.
So as we move forward, and I know we've got to wrap this up. I'm going to be coming back to you because we're going to be expanding our content, and I want to have really smart people who understand the business. And you've been amazing as well as you move forward in your career with everything that you've done and all the. I would argue that of series that are on TV, you've had the most successful that I know of because you've been on all these amazing shows that are all different. Where do you want your career to go at this point?
Man, that's I'll tell you this, man. Like I have accomplished every dream that I had as a kid. I that and then some. Like I'm got 3 little boys, man. I've got my beautiful and awesome wife, man. We've got a good home that we've built over here. And when it comes to work, man, I've gotten to work with some cool cats that I was big fans of. To me, man, I try to keep this as simple as I can. I just want to keep doing fun and interesting stuff, man. Like if it intrigues me, I hope other people are into it, and I don't think there's any real science behind this, man. I approach this thing as blue collar as I can, which is, man, just keep showing up for folks, keep doing your best, man. Like I'm a lucky cat, bro. So I'll never want to put the horse before the cart, the cart before the horse. That's how that goes. I don't want to put that. I just want to keep going, man, and man, and if I'm lucky enough to keep having fun along the way, that to me is the gift, bro. Like it, and if I keep getting to do stuff like this, man, and getting to chat with people that I admire and getting to have fun conversations, and then I also get to go be part of telling stories, and I get to play in all these different lives. I just want to keep on going, man.
You just said about 5 or 6 of the most important things when you're talking about building a career. And I've just gotten to that point the last couple of years where, man, I want to have fun. I want to make a difference. I want to lift people up, and I want to tell interesting stories. And so I'm going to wrap this up right here because we're going to do another episode down the road. This has been so amazing for us, for me, in all seriousness. And I appreciate your time because your passion and your respect for what I've done, but also the guys that and ladies that I've worked with is immense. And just so you know, it means the world to them. It really does mean the world to them when you have somebody like yourself respect everything that they do. So I just wanted you to know that.
Appreciate that, man. For real.
All right.
Appreciate that.
All right. So tell the good people before we get out of here where they can find your new show, when it's going to air, all that good stuff.
Absolutely, man. May 22nd, Sirens on Netflix. And it has nothing to do with the other Sirens I was on. Just a whole different Sirens. But no, this one's going to be really special, man. Kevin Bacon, Julianne Moore, Megan Fahey. It's a great cast, man. It's 5 episodes, limited series. Go.
I'm going to hit that download, boom, 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 get on the plane and just binge it. Now, that was going to be my last question, but when you threw out Kevin Bacon, I've got to ask another question. You said getting to work with people that you respect the most. Give me a couple of cool stories where you had, oh, man, I'll get to work with that person, and what it was like when you walked onto the set, because I don't think any of us can understand that.
I mean, one of the very, very first projects I ever worked on was a movie called The Ministers, and I shot it while I was in college. It was during a winter break, I believe, for my junior senior year, and it was starring John Leguizamo. And Leguizamo is one of my inspirations, man. I was doing, he's got these one-man shows that he performed on Broadway. Ghetto Clown and Freak and Latin History for Morons and bro, having it be one of my first projects that I ever worked on, that immediately kind of just like shifted a gear in my brain because, I'm sitting next to John. I'm talking with him. We're, when it becomes that reality all of a sudden, you're like, man, he's right here. Like up until that point, even before I got to college, it was always kind of just something in the back of my brain, like I don't have show business in my family, but man, you come up to New York and you start kind of feeling that energy, and then boom, meeting John, and it was, dude, he was just a great dude, and just spent a couple days there shooting that movie, and then off I went. But that immediately shifted something in me where it becomes tangible, it becomes real, man, and then I mean, bro, I'll give you the other one. The other one was working on on Sirens when the Miz guest starred. That was just a trip. That was the first time that I was working with a wrestler. So I remember Mike shows up, and I had a Warrior shirt on that day, Ultimate Warrior shirt on, and he was just cool as can be, man. I had a million questions for him that day. Like, people don't know that before we started recording, I had a million questions for you too, Post. So it's something, man. I've been just such a fan, brother, and I appreciate what you said, because I mean it. Like, when I'm watching these guys do the thing, when I'm watching you guys do your thing, I see the craft at work, and the job is to make it look easy.
Correct.
The thing that I know is that, boy, there's nothing easy about what you guys do, my brother. There's nothing easy about it.
You know what's? I'll tell you a quick Miz story, because I literally could do this for 6 hours with you, but I don't know if you know his history and how everybody's journey is different. But you remember he was on The Real World all those years ago. On The Real World, he held that
big title. He was the Miz.
Correct. So his what people thought of him when he came to the WWE, he was so incredibly popular. The year before he signed, he was on, including repeats, 342 out of 365 days that year. Because remember, MTV used to show all the repeats of The Real World, like every single day. So he was unbelievably popular. So he comes in. Well, nobody wanted him in the locker room. They didn't want him to dress in the locker room. And I was kind of a gray area guy. I told you what I did with the guys during the day, but I also was in the ring. So I was liked by everybody. And so Miz was a cast-off. They didn't want anything to do with him at all, not even letting him in the locker room. So he would hide out in his hotel room, and he was terrified of just going out. And one time we took him out to a club, and Josh, I kid you not, it's like a club with like 21 to 24-year-old girls, and we have all of our biggest stars are there. And imagine this scene where you got all these big dudes sitting in a VIP area, and there's 15, 21-year-old girls clamoring over the Miz, and you got all these dudes over here. Nothing. So they asked like that was his fault, right? Not his fault.
So changed after that day. Also, just wanted to box the room a little different.
So he will always, he's done it many, and I don't need him to do it, but he's brought me up many times. He's like, I forced him to go out. I forced him to face the demons. I forced him to be and now you see the career that he's had, but it didn't start that way. And I would encourage, no matter what you're doing, sometimes there's a lot of obstacles that are in front of you. And I think the wrestling business for me, since I did it before everything else, it kind of toughened me up a little bit. And it also made me understand that there's a lot of different kinds of people, and we got to respect all of them. But he's a guy that, man, I love him to death. So I'm so glad that you brought him up, because he's incredibly popular. All right, that's going to do it for now. I encourage you, Josh Segarra, check out all of his stuff. The new Sirens show on Netflix. Google all the things that he is in and go back and watch it. It's all amazing, amazing content. We're going to be hitting you up again soon, sir, but thank you for your time today.
This was awesome, man. Thank you, brother. A lot of fun. Thank you.
The following announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus.
The new pod order. BTT Plus. Yeah, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Plus. Oh, it's extra content right here, chicos. Think about it. BTT Plus, taking over the pod game. Live Q&As, watch-alongs, new shows. BTT. Is that okay, Big Tommy? Enter the war room, turnbuckle style. Plus, it's the new way. We call it BTT Plus. The genesis has begun. The beginning of the new pod or BTT. Everybody wants to know what to do next. Well, just scan the code.